Hey, what's going on, everyone? So if you're looking to buy a Hummer H3 and take it off-road, there is one factory option that your H3 needs to have, and that option is the Adventure Package, or is sometimes referred to as the Off-Road Package. As the name suggests, this is the off-road version of the H3, and the reason why you've never really heard of it is GM didn't market it all that much. I don't know why, but they never really distinguished it from the standard H3. Now, this is a similar trim level to the Jeep Rubicon, where it has additional off-road equipment that the base models do not have. Now, the greatest thing about this package is it really doesn't cost any more than the standard H3, since you'll be buying this truck used. Now, this makes the H3 a way better value than the Jeep Rubicon, especially in the used market. If you go take a look around anywhere for Jeep Rubicons, they can go up to $10,000 more than the base price. And yes, I do realize that the Jeep Rubicon has additional stuff, like the sliders, the wheels, and the bumpers, all that kind of stuff, but when it comes down to off-road performance, they are very similar. Now let's get into the Adventure Package and what different parts that it has compared to the normal one. So the two main things that it has is a 4-to-1 transfer case and locking differentials. For the 2006 to 2008 models, it featured only a rear locking differential, but for the 2009 to 2010 model year, it featured both front and rear locking differentials. Now, a locking differential is hands down the best way you can improve your traction. Now, if you haven't heard this before, this concept can be a little hard to grasp, so I actually have a toy Hummer here to demonstrate it. Now, for normal everyday use, cars use something called a open differential. What that allows is these wheels to spin independently of each other. This is absolutely essential because when we go to make a turn, this wheel is covering less distance than this wheel. However, when we are off-road, the ground is uneven and more unpredictable. In an open diff scenario, is that the wheel with the less traction will actually spin, and the wheel that needs traction will not spin. So if we take a look here, this wheel really needs the traction to get over here. However, it's not going to budge at all. This wheel will actually just spin. Now, especially if the H3 becomes off balance, like if you're up in the air, this wheel's not touching, this wheel is not going to move. This wheel is just going to keep spinning. Even if you give it more gas, it's not going to move. The only way you can get out of this is if you back up and give it more speed. Now, you might say to me that this is a four-wheel drive vehicle, not a front-wheel drive vehicle. And if the front wheel up here gets stuck, surely the back wheels can help. Well, yes, you're right, but the back wheels can also get stuck. They're not immune from getting stuck. So if that happens, you can't move at all. I mean, you can kind of budge your way out, going back and forth, but you're basically stuck. So essentially, your four-wheel drive vehicle has now become a two-wheel drive vehicle because your wheels will refuse to move. This is where the locking differential comes in. Now, this locking differential is something that you are able to switch on and off. What a locking differential does is lock these two wheels together, so they move at the exact same rate. One wheel can't go faster than the other, basically. That's why, in order to get true four-wheel drive, you need to have both front and rear locking differentials. As I mentioned before, the earlier model of the H3s will have a rear locking differential only, and the later model years of the H3 will have a front and rear locking differential. Now, next up, what I'll do is show you some Hummer H3s going off-road and getting stuck because they have a open differential. Now, what you need to look out for is one wheel not moving at all and the other wheel moving fast. Or just watch both wheels and see if one wheel starts to spin faster than the other. That's how you could see if a differential is open or locked. So now that we're done talking about the locking diffs, let's go ahead and talk about the other part, which is the transfer case. So in the Adventure package, you get a 4-to-1 transfer case instead of a 2.6-to-1 transfer case that you get in the standard H3. So what this means for you is your H3 is going to be really good at crawling at low speeds, anywhere from 2 to 7 miles per hour. You're going to have more torque available than the standard transfer case to power through steep rocks, mud, anything like that. Now, in order to take advantage of this, you have to switch your H3 from regular four-wheel drive into 4-low. Now, this transfer case is beefy and can take a beating. As long as you change the fluids on it, that thing will last. Now, if you need any proof of this, you have to check out one of the most accomplished H3 owners out there, which is Chris Ball. He also goes by 06H3 on some forums, or his rig name is Squeaky H3. And what this guy has done is build his own custom suspension, drive line, but yet he left that 4-to-1 transfer case in because it works so well. It survived 2 Ultimate Adventures, which is this great off-road online video series, and not up until recently has he had to do any service work on it. This guy is running 40-inch tires, he has an insane amount of travel on it, and yet this transfer case did not blow up on him, which is amazing. So for your 33, 35, even 37-inch tire setup, it will be more than enough, and you'll have some peace of mind. Alright, so now that you know what the lockers and transfer case do, let's go ahead and show you where the buttons are in the H3. So if you look in the center control stack, on the left-hand side are where the transfer case buttons are going to be. These are not the locker buttons, even though they have a locking symbol on it. Many people get that confused. So on the right-hand side of the H3 is where we have our locker buttons. As you can tell, I only have a rear locker, so that means I have an earlier model H3. This H3 is actually a 2008. Now, if you have a 2009 or 2010 H3, your other locker button will be right here, and your traction control button will actually be moved down to here into one of these punch-out little switches. Now, if you don't have any buttons here, that means you do not have an Adventure package. It is just a standard H3. So basically, left side, transfer case, right side, lockers. All right, real quick, I just want to go over what these transfer case buttons do. This button right here is regular four-wheel drive. Use this when you're driving on the highway, going around town. The middle button is for high. This button is honestly perfect for most off-road situations. You just leave that on if you're going up like a dirt hill, or if you're doing something a little more challenging than just a gravel dirt road. And then the last button here is the 4-low mode, and that's where you can get that 4-to-1 gearing that I was mentioning earlier. You use this when you're doing some harder off-road stuff, maybe rock crawling or going through a really deep mud hole, and you don't want to lose momentum. Now note, you should not drive over 10 to 15 miles per hour in this mode. This mode right here is only meant for very low speeds. In order to go into any of these modes, what you need to do is actually put your truck into neutral and then press the button. And then what that'll do is flick the switch on. If you're just in regular drive, or if you're in park, it will not work. And then the same with the 4-low. Go ahead and put it here. You might hear a click, but yeah, just have it in neutral, then put it in drive, and now you are in 4-low. At this time, you'll probably get a stability systems warning saying that the traction control off, this is normal, but only when you're in 4-low can you actually activate the locker button. The locker button will not turn on when you're in regular four-wheel drive or when you're in 4-high. And this is just because GM designed it this way. I don't think they wanted people turning on the locker button in regular everyday scenarios. Now, when you're buying an H3, it's a really good idea to actually test the locker button. You really should not use it on the road, but if you're purchasing an H3, you really should test it. So just go ahead and put it in drive, and it will take maybe a full rotation to engage. But once you do that, turn the wheel a little bit, and you should hear some skidding noises. Now, if at all possible, try doing this on a gravel or loose dirt road. The pavement is not ideal, but it won't break anything. Now, just a quick disclaimer, turning on the locking differentials while on pavement is not a good idea. Again, the only reason why I'm recommending it is if you're buying an H3 and you can't find any loose gravel or dirt situations to test it out. Just do it on the street, do it very slowly, don't go fast, anything like that, and you should be good. I've tested the locking diffs on the pavement before in 5 different H3s before, so they're not going to break. But again, please be cautious, go slow, it's not a good idea. Yeah. Now once you're done testing the locking diff and you've turned it off and then put it back into 4-wheel drive, the locker still might be engaged. So it's a good idea to go straight for a little bit and then slowly turn the wheel to see if it's still making any type of skidding noise. Just because the orange light has turned off doesn't mean the diff has actually disengaged. Alright, so now that you know all about the adventure package, how do you go about finding one? Rule number 1, dealers don't know what they're talking about. 2, Craigslist people don't know what they're talking about. And 3, Auto Trader people have no idea what they are talking about. You have to look yourself. There are only a couple different indicators that'll tell you if it's an adventure package or not. Unfortunately, it's not like the Rubicon. It doesn't have a big sticker advertising it on the side. So one of the easiest and best methods to check if an H3 has an adventure package is simply to look at those locking diff buttons. If you only see a traction control button, no locker buttons, that is not an adventure package. You either need to see 1 or 2 locking diffs, depending on the model year. That being said, there's some people that suck at taking pictures and don't get that locker button in the photo. Your next best bet is to look at the tire information. The Adventure Package H3 did ship with different tires than the standard H3, so it has a different tire size. That tire size is 285/75R16, and on the non-adventure, it is 265/75R16. Just look at the first number. If it says 265, it's not an adventure. If it says 285, it is an adventure. One good way to tell if an H3 is not an adventure package is to see if it is the H3X trim level. From my knowledge, I have never seen a H3X with an adventure package. Basically, the H3X is just the Mega Bling Chrome edition of the H3. So in that H3X trim level, you have a few distinct items that were only available for that trim. So the first item in that trim level was this chrome grill guard that looked just like the grill. The second item is 18-inch chrome wheels in comparison to the 16-inch wheels. Here you can see them side by side to see the difference. Next up is the color-matched full tire carrier. This was just a luxury version of the tire carrier, kind of like on the Mercedes G-Wagon. And the last thing to look out for is 2 distinct colors. The first color is a sunset orange, only offered in 2007, and also a dark cherry red type color, also offered in 2007. So if you see all of those indicators, it's probably an H3X. Now, if an H3 only has like 1 or 2 of those, that might have been added later on by that person, so there's still a chance then it could be an adventure package. But if you see all of those things on it, it's definitely not an adventure. So hopefully this video helped you if you're looking to buy an H3 and weren't sure what to look for. Alright, thank you guys for watching to the end, and I will see you later.